My family plans to hijack my wedding for my sister's engagement. Mom insists that it's her right, so I'm secretly canceling the wedding. Maybe this isn't the best place to vent, but I feel like I'm going to explode with anger and disappointment toward my family. My baby sister is the golden child, or maybe that's unfair to say. She survived cancer when she was little, and it was the darkest time in my parents' lives. I don't remember much of it because my parents shielded me from the terrible truth. I knew she was sick, and I recall spending my childhood in hospitals, but I didn't know that my sister almost died until many years later. I was 12 and she was 10. After she overcame her illness, she became the obvious favorite in the house. She got whatever she wanted, and sometimes it came at my expense. I resented that, but I was often told I was a naughty girl for being jealous of my brave sister. My sister grew up to be spoiled, and now, 20 years later, she's still the same. However, we get along much better now than we did as teenagers and young adults. My wedding is in July. Neither my fiancé nor I have the money for a big wedding, so we decided on a small wedding with 30 people at my fiancé's grandparents' house, which has a beautiful lake view. When my parents heard about it, they immediately said no and offered to pay for a bigger wedding with a better venue. At first, we didn't agree, but eventually we didn't want to disappoint them. It seemed really important to them. Last week, my mom invited me over. My dad, mom, and my sister's boyfriend asked me how I'd feel if my sister's boyfriend proposed to her during the wedding, turning it into an engagement party as well as a wedding. Mom had seen Instagram videos about people proposing to their maid of honor or bridesmaids and thought it was cute. My sister is my maid of honor. I said no, that it was ridiculous, and laughed. My mom got furious and accused me of being selfish and ungrateful. She also said I was being unfair to my sister. I told her I always thought it was strange that she would pay for my wedding, but now I understood the real reason why. She started crying and kicked me out of the house. Later, both she and my future brother-in-law sent me texts, warning me not to tell my sister about their plan. My fiancé was disappointed, but unsure of what we could do. My parents have already spent almost $30,000, so it's too late to cancel. Today, my mom called to plan the proposal, and I begged her not to ruin my special day. She told me that since she was paying, she could make requests. She also told me I should let go of my jealousy and resentment toward my sister because she's innocent in all of this. But the truth is, this day will be all about my sister. I told my fiancé to ask his grandparents if they're still willing to host the wedding. If they are, we'll stick with the original plan. If not, I'll just elope. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to tell my family and cancel the wedding or just let them have their big proposal party. None of my family will be invited to my wedding, including my sister. Thank you for listening. The original plan was for me to make a speech and tell my sister there's a surprise for her and that today is about us too, blah blah blah. Then, her girlfriends and boyfriend would do a rehearsed dance to their favorite song, and he would propose. If I know her well, she wouldn't mind being proposed to on my wedding day, but it puts me in a tough spot. It feels like a lose-lose situation for me. Sometimes I think maybe I should just agree and get it over with, but I'm so angry. My fiancé doesn't want me to give in this time, since we're both happy with the backyard wedding. We even asked Mom to donate what she planned to spend on the wedding to the Childhood Cancer Fund in our names. Like we asked guests for wedding gifts, but she insisted on a party for the extended family. I had a back-and-forth texting exchange with my future brother-in-law where he called me jealous and bitter. I've now blocked him. He texted my fiancé apologizing, but we didn't respond. My plan now is to get married a week earlier at my grandparents' in-laws' house with just 20 guests. We've managed to change our honeymoon booking to be 3 weeks instead of 2, with the departure the morning after the wedding. My mom's wedding is already fully paid for, with no refunds possible, and the short notice, only 3 weeks, was the whole point. I think she meant to spring this information on me so close to the wedding date, so I couldn't really do anything about it. They'll get 1 week's notice when they see our wedding pictures on social media. They'll probably just turn it into an engagement party and have fun, so it's a win-win for them, I guess. Update 1. I really want to thank everyone who showed me support. I'm now happily married, and in Italy for my honeymoon. I try to stay away from my phone, but I was so curious to see my family's reaction to my elopement a week earlier than planned. It was pretty ugly. I must start by saying that I really tried my best to negotiate and compromise with my family and truly explain that this was hurting me. I have nothing against my sister and nothing against her getting engaged at my wedding, but the principle of it was what bothered me. It was made very clear to me that I had absolutely no say or opinion on what was going to happen on what was supposed to be my special day. That's where I drew the line. It wasn't a wish or a request. It was a matter of fact, and it was already decided. So I told my mom that I wasn't going to attend the party she had paid for. Maybe they should just turn it into an engagement party instead. She got very upset and told me the engagement was supposed to be a surprise. I told her I was just giving her a heads up since she was about to lose a lot of money. She didn't take me seriously, thinking I wouldn't cancel my wedding over something so trivial. What she didn't know was that I had already made plans to get married a week earlier at my grandparents' in-laws' house. We invited our closest friends, and some even had to book earlier flights and take extra vacation days, for which I was extra grateful. What was left to deal with was my sister. I had to tell her, so I did. She wasn't happy with my mom, but she was more upset that I ruined her surprise. As I expected, she thought I could have just sucked it up and gone along with it. I didn't tell her about my new wedding date. The wedding itself was like a dream. In the back of my mind, I was hurt that the people who loved me the most weren't there, but I pushed that thought aside and refused to let it ruin our day. My husband was amazing. He promised to make me happy for the rest of my life and to make up for every heartbreak I've experienced in the past. My in-laws surprised us by upgrading our honeymoon to a 5-star hotel. I had my friends, some cousins, and my favorite aunt attending. We asked them not to live stream or post any pictures on social media until we were already on our honeymoon. We also asked them not to get into any online arguments with my family. Today, my mom posted long messages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram bashing me and my husband. She called me ungrateful and disrespectful and shared pictures of my wedding, telling everyone I cost her a big chunk of her savings and that she now wants compensation. Her Facebook post was shared around 200 times, and most of my extended family is angry with me. She never once tried to contact me. I really thought she would bombard my phone, but instead, both my parents announced they were cutting me off and expected compensation. My future brother-in-law commented that I ruined his surprise, and my sister posted about being tired of jealous bees and haters. None of the people we invited commented, even though some of them were directly attacked. They respected our wishes. I'm not sure if they're still going to turn the wedding into an engagement party, but I really hope they do so the money isn't wasted. The wedding is on Saturday. I'm sorry this update is so long, but with all the people asking for an update, I hope this is what you wanted. P.S. English isn't my native language, and it's too long of a post to proofread, especially when it's written on my iPhone. Update: the wedding ended up being a party for my sister. Yes, they did turn it into an engagement party and flooded the internet with pictures and posts about how magical the night was. My little sister made sure to write about haters not ruining her special day and how she was surrounded by the people that mattered. From what I gathered, about 30 to 40% of the invited guests showed up. This means they can't sue me for the wedding, so all is good now. Now, on to the next story. Story 2. I overheard my husband say I'm ugly to his friends. Though I've always known I'm unattractive, hearing him confess it shattered me completely. Original post: I am an unattractive woman, objectively. I've always been this way, and while I've gotten used to it, it's still a daily reminder that being an unattractive woman is tough. I met my husband 4 years ago, and he's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. He's always told me I'm beautiful, and he somehow sounded honest without sounding like my mother, like someone who had no other option but to say that. Last night, Saturday, he had a group of friends over at our house. They meet several times a month to hang out, catch up, and play games. He's known most of these guys since high school. I was upstairs in the kitchen preparing drinks and snacks when I could hear them downstairs. I started to eavesdrop, which I know is rude, but it wasn't really intentional. I realized they were talking about me. A couple of the guys were teasing my husband about me, specifically about my looks. I could tell they thought it was funny, but it wasn't. At one point, one of them referred to me as a troll, and my husband blew up. He started shouting, "Listen, shut the up. I know my wife isn't the prettiest, but shut up. She makes me happy. Does your bimbo of the week do that, Jim? Dave, how long has it been since we've hung out, and you haven't bitched about your wife?" He went on for a while defending me, but all I could hear was, "I know she's ugly, I know she's ugly," repeating in my head over and over. It just broke me. I've always known I'm unattractive, but I never thought my husband would think that. He tells me I'm beautiful so sincerely and consistently that I started to believe him. I started crying and ran to the shower so no one could hear me. When I came out an hour later, everyone had gone home far earlier than normal. I went to bed and haven't spoken to him all day today. I've been avoiding him, not letting him know I'm upset. I know rationally that what he said was sweet and that he loves me, not just my body, but it doesn't seem to matter. I just want to be pretty. God, I feel so shallow. I've been crying all day. What should I say to him? Part of me wants to call him a liar, scream, and cry, while the other part just wants to run away and never talk to him again. It's hard to accept that even the greatest man I'll ever meet can't find me attractive. TLDR, I overheard my husband admit to his friends that I'm ugly. Even though I've always known this to be true, hearing him say it in the midst of explaining how much he loves me makes me feel terrible, worthless, and like I've lost something I've waited my whole life for. I gave up hope of ever having a partner who even liked me before I met him. I feel like I lost the lottery at birth, and my life has been a joke full of humiliation I did nothing to deserve. I don't even know how to talk to him. Update 1. This update turned out really long, sorry. First off, I just want to say thank you to all of you.
Just wow.
Over the last 2 days, I've received literally hundreds of messages and PMs. You guys rock, seriously. This thread probably has one of the best positivity to jerk ratios on all of Reddit, like ever. You guys really knocked it out of the park for me. I'm still figuring out why this has meant so much. So, yesterday, after receiving so much support from you all, my phone buzzing nonstop all day, I decided to try and confront my husband about what I overheard. After we were both home from work, I told him I needed to talk. I told him I overheard him and his friends, and he immediately began apologizing, saying they were jerks and that I should have told him I heard them. I had to stop him to get a word in, and I explained that it wasn't his friends so much as what he had said. When I told him what he said, his whole tone changed. I could tell he wasn't expecting to be blamed. I had the whole conversation planned out. I wanted to explain how it made me feel, how I thought he was really attracted to me, and how betrayed I felt hearing him talk behind my back. But I just started crying and couldn't express myself clearly. He was amazing, though. He just held me, and after a minute, he started speaking like he was reading from the nicest comments in the original thread. He told me he was just angry and didn't speak very well. He really does find me attractive, even if the world doesn't, and even if his friends don't. I calmed down pretty quickly, having cried myself out the day before. Later, he took me to his computer and showed me an email he had sent to all his friends on Sunday. I wish I could copy-paste it now, but basically, he called them out, saying they crossed the line from good-natured teasing to just being mean. He told them that, for the foreseeable future, they would need to find another place to hang out. He made it clear that they were no longer welcome in our home. He even said, "My wife's home," though I thought it might sound like I was ordering him around. But he said he just wanted to emphasize how wrong what they did was. Seeing him stand up for me again made me happy, especially seeing him do it without talking badly about me. It helped me believe it was just a heat-of-the-moment bad choice of words. He told me to wait in the room and left, coming back with a folder. He said he had planned to give me this for Christmas, but he would get me something else now. I tried to say no, but he insisted it was plane tickets and brochures. He had planned a trip for us in early January to a spa hotel resort in British Columbia. It was mind-blowing, but I realized it must have cost several $1,000s. We budget pretty thoroughly, so he shouldn't have been able to spend that much without me noticing. I asked where he got the money, and he told me he had been planning it for over a year, saving all of his weekly spending money and collecting change from groceries and other things where I wouldn't notice. When I say that sometimes I'm not sure I deserve him, I don't mean it as a crisis. He's just really amazing. He's taking me out for dinner now, so I have to go, but I'll be back on tonight. Everything is okay. My husband is an amazing person. I still wish I were prettier, but I understand how lucky I am, and I realize that beauty and happiness aren't the same.